Good morning. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. My name is Felice, and this is our Sunday morning Why Wait for Recovery community meeting. You're on.
Morning. My name is Haiti. Yes, it is Sunday. It's a beautiful, lovely Sunday in Florida, and we get together every single week, twice a week actually, to discuss recovery, addiction. I'm a compulsive overeater. I'm an emotional eater. I'm a binger. I'm a purger. I'm a food addict. I'm a drug addict. I'm just an addict.
She's an addict. I'm a drug addict, alcoholic, anorexic, and we're really, really glad that everybody's here.
And we're in recovery.
Morning. And we're in recovery. Most importantly, we're sitting here because we're in recovery. Thanks
and
for
we're
sharing.
smiling because we are in recovery.
We're in recovery, yay.
And please note, we are here first thing on a Sunday morning. Normally when I was using, there's not a chance I'd be out of bed at this time.
I would be, but I'd be out of bed so that I could call whoever I needed to call to get whatever I needed to get. So it's just saying, like, sometimes, you know, overeating is more convenient than the other type of addictions. Right?
Well, actually, I do the food coma.
You get to go into your refrigerator instead of calling your drug dealer.
Right,
so.
but I go into the food coma and then I couldn't get out of bed because the knees were sore, the back was sore, I just couldn't move, or I'd be hungover.
Right. Fair enough.
So it's good to be here.
So it's good to be here. So this morning we're talking about rolling off the wagon, and we're going to talk, that was Haiti's really cute thing to say, and our spiritual principle behind step 5, which is what we're up to today. Oh, by the way, disclaimer, you guys, we're not an AA or OA or NA meeting. We're not one of the anonymous meetings, so we don't follow their rules. We do, however, shout out to all of those A's because they're amazing, and a lot of us got clean there. I did, you did. So they're absolutely wonderful. We do refer back to them because it's what we've learned, and we can only talk about what we've learned. We're 2 girls in recovery talking about recovery, so our opinions are just our opinions. So thank you so much for understanding that.
And
Yes.
also we refer there because we are of service. Being in service is also helps us keep what we've got and share it around because it's good news.
Right, and we actually do our own thing too, so we have our own meetings and we have our own workshop, which we have a workshop starting in a couple of weekends.
Oh, we do.
We have a workshop.
It is awesome.
It's
Actually,
awesome.
our workshops are
Awesome, right, girls?
amazing. They're a very small group. We'd love to have 1 million people at a time, but
We'll talk about
we really focused on recovery and people getting it, and it's very easy to hide behind things and ourselves and our ego and our secrets when we're in big groups. So we really made it a really small group so people who attend can really get recovery.
And so you just talked about hiding behind things, and that's super important because today we're going to talk about humility. And so when we talk about humbling ourselves, we're not talking about being humiliated because we felt humiliated every single day that we were using. So humility and humiliated are 2 different things. With humility, a lack of humility is what we have when we relapse and we don't come back into the rooms, right? Because we're ashamed or we're embarrassed. When we don't really talk about what's eating us because we don't want anyone else to see who we are or how we feel or what we're doing, right? Because we're embarrassed or we're afraid or, and that keeps us sick, you guys. And so we're going to talk about that today.
And that humility also, when I was going through those stages, is also that indignation. For me, that shows up as indignation when my feelings are so easily hurt by something that you said or you said, and the universe revolves around me, and why don't you understand me, and why don't you get me, and why don't you do what I thought you should be doing? Because remember, as an addict, there are 1 million things that I say that I don't want to say, and 1 million things that I think that I never say that I should say. So really,
you just said a lot. So
I did.
Also, you guys, we talk a lot about ego. And so my ego is what I think your opinion of me is. And so when I don't have any true opinion of myself, and when I don't have self-care and self-love, and the only thing that I'm going on is how you're feeling about me, that just keeps me feeling empty, right? About myself.
And it
Right.
also leads into a whole lot of arguments inside my world.
Right, inside our own heads. Not really
Right.
inside somebody else's head, but inside of our own heads, and all that chaos and caca that we make up about ourselves and about what other people are thinking and about what other people are doing and how everything affects us. And humility also reminds us, you guys, that it's not about the food, and it's not about the alcohol, and it's not about the binging or purging or the overeating or starving. It's not about that. It's about how we have a thinking disease, right? We have something wrong with our thinkers, and we need to learn to change our perspective and our actions. So, good morning. Hi, Robin.
Hey.
So, we're going to change our perspective and our actions so that we don't have to pick up. And I want to make clear just one thing because it's been asked of me. You guys, very first thing that we need to do is get clean, right? So we're going to clean up that dopamine receptor, whatever our drug of choice is, or whatever our behavior of choice is. So we're going to clean that up. And as we clean that up, we're going to step into some kind of recovery. And once we step into recovery and we get the recovery aspect of it, that's when we have, you talk about tools in your toolbox, that's when we start getting those tools that allows us not to pick up, not to use that behavior. And so recovery and staying clean go hand in hand. But first thing you gotta do is get clean as you're stepping into your recovery. So let's remember that. Let's remember about the dopamine receptor. Let's remember about the stuff that triggers that receptor, and let's stop doing those things so that we can step into some kind of recovery.
So I also just want to mention something because it's still early enough to do this. We live stream on a lot of different formats. The subject is something that touches a lot of people's lives. Addiction is horrific when you're in active addiction. It affects families, it affects friends, sisters, brothers, everything. So you've got the ability to jump into the conversation anytime with us. On Facebook, you can text us, but we may or may not get your messages. If you really want to be in the conversation, jump onto Zoom. That way we can hear you. You can pop in anytime. Don't stop yourself commenting. If you want to add to the conversation, jump in, say it. None of us are judging you. There's no perfect response. And also, the things that we talk about here, people worry about being anonymous. If you're on Facebook and you're commenting and you feel that you don't want your friends to see it, when you comment, they will see you. Unless you're commenting in our private membership group, which is What's Eating You, only members see there, it's free. Or if you're on Zoom, no one knows you're on Zoom because it's on your own computer. So hop onto Zoom. It's a great way for us to see your beautiful faces and to talk to you.
Yeah. So how do we want to do it this morning?
Okay,
Do we want to talk it? Do we want to go around the room?
So I think we're going to do it. Let's do it as what we said, the spirit moves us. But I also wanted to mention something. So in terms of how things play out, I can only give you an example from my own world. So I tend to have a lot of arguments with my husband. That's how we've been married nearly 20 years, and I expect him to read my mind and know exactly what I'm thinking instead of actually telling him what I'm thinking or what I expect. So when he doesn't perform things or do things or read my mind or create those romantic events or whatever it is, I get really upset and pissed off with him, and I really walk around with a lot of resentments for him at times until I'm starting to learn that's my program and my recovery that I'm talking about, and it's got nothing to do with him. So I always tell him when he comes and he tells me what I'm thinking, I tell him he's not a mind reader, and we start arguing along those lines. And I go, well, if you could read my mind, tell me what the lucky lottery numbers are so we can win the lottery, okay? So he's always in the same videos catch-22 position because he's damned if he does and he's damned if he doesn't. And that is part of where my ego and my humility come into play in terms of my recovery.
Yes. And I'm going to ask you because Karen, you and I have had this conversation. So when you say that you don't tell him what's on your mind and you're resentful of him because he's not reading your mind, who are you actually resentful of?
So when you say, am I eating my feelings? Okay, yes, I do.
But
and then I'm resentful of me.
Right,
and
exactly.
Also, I'm in that place where I start going through my head. You see, I have a committee that lives up in this little space, and they going, you know, that's not he should know this, or maybe that's not a good enough thing. And there's a million little voices that chirp in all the time when I sit inside my head and I let them get to me, which is me. I mean, that's really, instead of really keeping things simple, which I'm learning to do in my recovery, and just saying as something starts irking me to go, by the way, this happened this morning and it made me feel this way. I don't, and instead I turn it into, you did this and you didn't do this, and why didn't you go there and why didn't you do this, and it becomes the what have you done for me lately rather than what I'm feeling, and it becomes this whole huge thing that can carry on for weeks.
So when we get back to ego, when we're talking about ego, I'm talking about what I think your opinion of me is, right, or what you're thinking about me. And so we're going to remember that every negative feeling that we have is fear-based. We talk about this every week, and that if I'm having a negative emotion, I can promise you it don't got nothing to do with you. It has to do with me and how what's happening is affecting my life. So when my husband or my boyfriend or my next door neighbor doesn't read my mind, the person that I'm actually resentful of is myself, because I haven't shared with that person what I felt, and I haven't given that person an opportunity to even make some kind of change if they choose to. And so in recovery, we're going to learn to take responsibility for our own feelings and our own thoughts and our own actions. That's one of the most important things I think about our recovery, is that we go around blaming the entire planet for everything that we're feeling, when actually everything that we're feeling has to do with us. Doesn't have to do with you or my boss or my teacher or my boyfriend.
So, the whole thing is that not feeling alone. And I wonder how many people in the room here also have had this space where we assume that people think the same that we do. One of the biggest lessons for me is, yes, we may be similar and we have a lot of similar values and we got some certain common beliefs, but none of our perspectives are exactly the same. The way we view the world is so different. But when we with people that are very close to us, be they friends, be they spouses, whoever it is, and for me, I have that level of expectation that we kind of joined at the umbilical cord and he's sucking out my knowledge and knowing exactly where I come from, and I have a certain level of expectation that he really knows where I'm at, but we're very, very different.
Yeah, and you guys, expectation of something is always going to set us up for disappointment.
Yeah,
go ahead.
I always have negative expectations, though.
Meaning?
Myself. I always tell somebody else, I'm always wrong.
Okay.
I do not expect my husband to read my mind because I'm wrong.
Okay, so what you're talking about is that you feel less than.
Yes.
And you feel worthless.
Yes.
Right, so it's not that you're wrong, you don't feel like you're good enough.
Correct.
Right, and so those are some of the things that we're going to learn about in recovery. Remember, is that you're not good enough or not less than. That's the caca that you've already put in your head.
I think for me, it stems from childhood.
It's for
sure.
all of us.
And it is something I am just recently starting to understand, that I don't give my husband enough credit to allow me to just be me.
So, and so thank you for sharing that. And so what you're saying is probably what a lot of people are feeling. And remember, it's about us owning our own feelings, because I can change my perspective, but I can't change my husband's perspective.
Right.
The only thing that I could do is show up, do my best to do my best, and the universe is going to turn the way that it does.
I always feel I have to do better than best.
But it doesn't matter.
And
so
that's where my struggle is.
Okay, and that and that doesn't matter. Not that it doesn't matter. I don't mean that.
No,
I mean,
no.
but when you say I'm trying to do better than best, what you're saying is you're trying to manipulate a situation. So you need to hear your own words and understand what you're saying. You figure if you do better than best, you're going to change the way that I feel, or change what your husband does. It doesn't work like that.
I've just been called a manipulator recently this week, which is very odd for me, because when I think of the word manipulator, I think of it in such a negative
Right, so let me ask you a
connotation.
question. You go to a chiropractor, he manipulates your spine. He manipulates your spine to make it better, correct?
Right.
So manipulation, even though you put negative connotation on it, nobody's saying that it's something negative. We're just saying that I'm trying to change. I think that I could change a situation. If you're better than best, how your husband receives it is about him.
You just made a light bulb go off in my head like you do not even understand.
I'm
Because
glad.
I couldn't understand being called a manipulator,
Okay,
or
and
even
so-
be called a liar.
Okay.
Because since I got clean, I have been more than honest. I think
Okay.
like that beyond honesty that you don't need to share. Even.
Okay, all right, that's okay. And so we're going to touch on that a little bit more. Most importantly, what we're going to get out of that is that you are responsible only for your own feelings and your own actions, and the rest of the world is going to turn the way that it does. No matter how I act, when you leave here today, you can leave here thinking, I'm the greatest thing since whatever, the wheel was invented. Or you could think, that girl, I hated that girl. She was awful and horrible and abrasive, and like a lot of you think. And that's okay. But that's about you. So I show up the way that I show up. You receive it the way that you receive it. And so you're going to learn that you're only responsible for your own thoughts and your own actions, And that's it. The rest of the world is going to turn the way that the rest of the world turns. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you.
So thank you so much for sharing that, because I can relate so much to what you said. You know, one of the things that I've learned through being in this process with Felice and going through the workshops and doing all this stuff is really coming in touch with my character challenges. And one of those is because indignation is one of the places that I go, and then I get very upset, and then I'm either crying or using guilt or some of those things, because I'm one of those people that really feel, I don't know what to do when I'm feeling uncomfortable. You know, I'm still learning on what to do with feelings and how to deal with them. And when I become uncomfortable, whatever it is, I need the people around me to be uncomfortable, because that's always been my go-to. And it can be either with the guilt or the indignation or whatever it is. But those are my challenges. But learning to identify them makes it so much easier to work on them, because then we can go, oh, that's what it is. And these are the steps, and these are the things that I can do. But also it held me back in my recovery. And it's still something that I work with, because going into that headspace stops me picking up the phone when I'm really low and I need to reach out to someone, or I just need to talk to someone, or I'm feeling lonely, or I'm feeling whatever those other feelings are, because it's not worth it, or maybe I shouldn't. And I had all these conversations of coming from that place, rather than actually talking up in a meeting or sharing something or reaching out to someone, because that has always been my default place to go to. So thank you so much for sharing.
Thanks for
Thank
sharing.
you.
Anybody else want to share before we do a go around? Anybody have anything interesting to share about the week, or feeling good or bad or something going on? No, so we're a bunch of addicts with nothing to say. Surprise! Angeli, good morning.
Good morning. When you were saying about the manipulation, the term manipulation, I just thought of the self-centered thing and me associating it automatically with selfish.
Yes.
That's not what it means.
Right, no, it has nothing to do with that, right?
Right, and so I just thought of that, and then I just wanted to add that, you know, after last week, I shared on Wednesday about whatever had happened, and I just, I noticed that through being in recovery and working on my recovery, that's the fastest I've ever gotten over a situation that big that has happened. And it was a big situation for me, because my life is pretty small in terms of,
For you,
yeah,
right?
for me,
Good,
right.
good for saying that.
And so it just reminded me that I'm so thankful to be in recovery and be working on my recovery and improving myself, because life is so much better that way. It's so much easier, it's so much happier, it's so much everything that way.
I love when you use the word selfish, because it really brings up something that I came from the place of, you know, that religious structure where being selfish was a bad thing. And so then when I always thought that there was a disparity between selfless and humility and selfish, until I actually realized that being full of self a little bit and being aware of where we are and being more selfish as having that awareness is not necessarily a negative thing for me, because it's an awareness that I never allowed myself to step into, because I always thought that I had to be selfless and the smarter, like, you know, everyone else's needs and stuff came before mine. And just that word, it just touched this and it's got nothing to do with your situation. It's just something that it triggered in me in terms of a thought.
Yeah, and so when we talked about self-centeredness last time, which is what Angela's talking about, self-centeredness is when I think everything on the planet is happening because of me, or is happening and it affects me. And so there's a big, huge world out there that's turning that has absolutely nothing to do with me. And so when you hear that word selfish, when we talk about selfish and self-centeredness, we're not talking about, because what you had said was, but I'm so nice and I'm so giving and I'm so kind. And we all were, right? We were all nice and giving and kind. But the entire universe and everything that happened and everything that you said and everything that you thought and everything that you didn't do had to do with me, when it don't. Everything that you do and you do and you do has to do with you. And again, when I learn that no matter what I'm doing, that I can't manipulate the world or a situation to my liking, then I learn that that's all I'm responsible for doing is showing up and doing my best to do my best.
And you know, you and I had that conversation countless times, and it's not until we had that situation happen that I understood what you meant.
Yeah.
And so
it was a big awakening for you.
Yeah, it was a subtlety, but it was a very big thing.
Yeah, and we had a situation where whatever was said, and right now what you're doing is learning how not to take everything so personally.
Right.
because everybody around you is living in their own universe as well, right? And so not everything that's said or done is done to you or toward you, or it's just done, right?
And it's teaching.
Right? And you
And-
act or react the way that you do.
Yeah.
That's about you.
Right.
So what I say is about me, and how you take it is about you. Unless I pick up a frying pan and smack you over the head, then I've done something that affected you. Correct? For sure.
Yeah, and it's, I think it's good we're having this conversation now, because even to add to that, I think it teaches me to have faith that people are the way they are, and they're gonna act the way they're gonna act, and me trying to manipulate a situation even after I think I've made you mad or I've hurt your feelings doesn't change a thing, because you went along as you normally would. You didn't change anything. I went along being scared and fearful and thinking the worst out of it, and I don't think I got over it until a couple of days ago, even, because that's what I'm used to doing. But it's really a great thing, and I'm happy.
And we're talking about humility.
Yeah.
And so you having humility is also understanding that her feelings are just as important as your feelings. They're not any more important, and they're not any less important,
Yeah.
right? So my feelings were just as important as your feelings. Not just that you're feeling like this, so you can manipulate the world around you
Right.
to fit into that.
Right.
So having humility is saying, this is how I feel, this is how the other person feels. I wish them the best, and I'm going to do my best to do my best.
Yeah.
And we let everything else go. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace.
And the
Right?
humility.
Yeah,
And
no,
the-
go ahead.
And the humility thing is like the self-centered thing. It's like, what do you mean I'm not humble?
Right, exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
So it's a lot of growth and learning.
Yeah,
for
it is.
me.
Thank you for sharing that, Ange.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I just also want to bring this back to something else, because I'm seeing comments as they're rolling up from Facebook.
I can't see that far because I'm old.
So firstly, just welcome to all our newcomers. Those people coming back, we need you in the rooms, and you are really important to be here. And also for those people that are counting clean time, we love watching your progress. And the reason we discuss what we're discussing is because when we were in active addiction, one of the things that we do is create the chaos around us to justify why it's okay to pick up.
Yes, we do.
So when
Yes,
we
we
start
do.
looking at all those different character aspects of ourselves, remember this little space up here goes with us wherever we're going. And that voice, my voice of addiction has the same voice as my regular thinking, it's in the same tone, the same things. And it comes back to me making these little suggestions. Well, they didn't understand me and they don't agree with me, and all those little voices to try at those times when I'm not strong in my recovery, or I'm not utilizing my tools, makes it so much easier for me if I choose to pick up than when I'm doing the things that what I need to do to stay healthy and happy, which is working my recovery.
Yeah, and I love when you talk about indignation and my reasons to pick up. You weren't nice to me. I might as well use, like, really.
I might as well hurt myself
Right.
because you're not
Oh,
listening
poor
to me.
pitiful me, right? Again, pour me a drink. Yeah. Can I check in real quick? Good morning. How are you?
Good morning.
I didn't see your smile this morning, so I'm gonna pick on you. How are you this morning?
I'm okay.
Okay.
I have a lot of anxiety.
Why? Talk, baby. You're here to get well, so talk.
I think you have to skip me.
Okay. So my hope for you today, I'm sorry that you're going through whatever you're going through. And my hope for you today is that you'll share a little bit, because I promise, whatever it is, other people are going through as well, even though it doesn't make your hurt any less. But sometimes even in our hurt in the rooms is when we can be of service. Because even if I don't get well that minute, maybe somebody else is going to get well because of it. And we love you, right?
Yep.
Right? Like heart, we love you. Okay, so I'm going to skip you. And see how I'm being nice this morning. I'm not being abrasive to you. So I'm going to skip you, and then we'll get back with you when you're ready to share, if you're ready to share. Okay. And you've already checked in, so thank you so much. You want to check in this morning?
Sure.
What up, girl?
Well, I feel very similar to what Angelina is feeling.
Can you speak up a little bit?
Yes.
Thank
I'm
you.
feeling very well these days. I can look people in the eye.
Mhm.
First time in a long time. I can have a conversation with somebody for the first time in a long time. I can smile and laugh and appreciate all the beauty around me. And I am so grateful for that. My recovery is the most important thing to me.
Good.
And I think because of that, it's going well today.
You know how they say in the rooms a grateful addict will never use? Except I didn't think that was true. So I was very grateful. I had 7 years clean and I relapsed. I was grateful for my stuff. I had a great car, great job, great kids, I had like all of this great stuff going on, except I wasn't grateful for my recovery anymore. And so I think what they mean, I'm making this up, is an addict who is grateful for their recovery, meaning I'm still working on my recovery and caring about my recovery and sharing about my recovery and working on me, going back to humility, not that, well, I got this thing, and so I don't need you or anybody else in my recovery community anymore. I got this thing. And that's how I relapsed. So thank you for sharing that gratitude, which that's your perspective. And your perspective about being grateful to be in recovery allows you to continue to work on your recovery. And I think as long as you're grateful that you're still working on your recovery, that keeps you clean. So thank you so much for sharing that. Good job, you. Thank you.
And that gratitude is actually a tool that we use as well.
It is. I forgot my gratitude list last night.
Because what happens is when we stuck in that, well, for me, when I'm stuck in my indignation and in my head, and all I'm seeing is my eyes are really twisted inside of who didn't do what, and it's all inside my head and my thoughts, and it's all I'm focusing on. Gratitude kind of helps me take my eyeballs and push them outwards so I can actually see the rest of the world.
Yeah.
So instead of me being the focus of the world, the day might have not felt like the most fantastic day, but I guarantee you there are 3 things that happen within that day that I can be grateful for, whether it's the sun shining or me being able to use my legs or my hands or my eyes or whatever, as simple as that. But the minute I start thinking of the things I'm grateful for, it definitely shifts our perspective.
And I love that you said that. You guys, we have definitely 3 things that we're grateful for. I guarantee you there are 300 things that you could be grateful for that if you gave it 30 seconds, you could think of right this second, right? And you do talk about the things like, yeah, I can breathe, and I can walk, and I got out of bed, and look like we have these cute bracelets on, and my boots, I found my boots this morning, and there wasn't any traffic on the way, and there are zillions of little things, and I have a car, and I have a stereo, and I have you guys, and exactly.
My addiction nearly killed me. I mean, honestly, I nearly died over my addiction. That's how serious it is. I should not be sitting here. If I was in control of the way things were, I would not be here today.
Yeah.
So really, I'm extremely grateful.
So shout out to recovery, you guys, because addiction sucks, and recovery is really, 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 really hard sometimes, but it's really, really, really worth it. And thank you guys for being a part of our recovery. Hi. Long time no see, girl.
Yeah.
How are you doing?
I'm still around.
Anything up?
Nice to be here. Yeah, well, today I'm a month clean from pot.
Okay, from pot, what about from food? Because
Yeah.
we don't differentiate anymore. You guys, I'm going to do a thing real quick. Clean time is clean time. So, again, because I know we get confused about this. We have a lot of people, I'm so glad that you said that, because we have a lot of people online asking about that. I haven't had a drink in 10 years. Don't make me 10 years clean from alcohol. I relapsed 2 years ago. I'm just shy of 2 years clean. I don't get to keep the other years because I didn't drink when I relapsed. So whether you're anorexic or binging or purging or overeating or whatever, as soon as I make one addiction less than the other addiction, it allows me to relapse on the addiction that's less. So, and I know that we've had that thing before. We've had that thing online before. And then we've talked about stuff like that, I think, too, before when you used to come, about how, well, I haven't binged in 10 weeks, but I smoked pot yesterday. Using is using. It ain't about what we're using.
I'm a month
it's about
from-
why we're using. So, yeah. All right. Good for you. Proud.
Thank you.
You must feel great.
I don't.
Okay. Awesome. So you feel great about the fact that you're actually clean, and caca about what? Yeah.
You would think, I mean, it's not what you think, anyone would think, but when I think of the challenges that even the past week, and it just happened, I want to cry. I just want to cry every time I think of what happened,
Okay.
I want to cry.
Thank you for sharing that. And so what's happening right now is that you're cleaning up those receptors in your brain, right? And so remember, we used to stuff ourselves, right? Whatever is eating us, we want to make ourselves feel different, right? Not necessarily feel better, but feel different or feel nothing. And so a month ago, you'd have a bad day or a bad second or a bad response from somebody and you'd get high. And so that was your way of dealing with it. Now when you're clean, you've had a bad day perspective-wise. I don't know if it was actually a bad day, but you view something as something that's hurtful or has made you angry or one of those fear things, and you don't got nothing to pick up. And so that's when you stepping into recovery is important. That's about when you're coming to meetings and you're a part of the community and stuff like that. Those are the things now that you'll work on your recovery so that you don't have to feel so distraught. Because remember, right now, your brain is asking you, please, 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 please get high, please get high, please get high. And so we just talked about, she said that to me, and you did this to me, and my boss didn't show up, and can you believe? And all of that indignation that Haiti talks about, all of those feelings that we're looking at as our reason or our excuses, as I call them, to use. And so you have the excuses, but you're not using. So now what do you do?
Right. And I just wanted to share, you know how in program, I've been in program for many, and they say if you don't want to drink, don't go to the bar.
Right, right. If you stay in the
mean
barbershop
that.
long enough, you're gonna get a haircut.
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
I didn't.
I know what you meant. I know what you
I
meant.
meant if you.
Yeah, stay in the barbershop long enough, you're gonna get a haircut.
That's exactly what I meant.
Yeah.
And
Sorry.
that's also, sorry.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead.
So I'm really I have not been hanging around with my best friend
Okay.
or anybody that might trigger me. But and my home situation, I live there. That's my house. I have a lot of challenges, and I'll just say fifth because I know this is nothing.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
But I woke up in the morning. I'm good. I'm like okay, grateful. And my son was there. My old son. I'm like, what is that? I'm thinking no way. And it was a bag of pot
Okay, and
on
so
the floor. I'm
and
like,
so okay, that's it. So you had the time to say what was wrong.
Yeah,
so
finish
you
it.
have people who are getting high in your house.
when
And so
I'm-
when we talk
right.
about codependence, either kick them out or make a rule. We're not going to go ahead and talk about that too much,
No,
but
I
when
know.
we talk about our own recovery, I promise you that I'm not hanging out with people that are doing Percocet. I promise you that I'm not, because it's not okay for my head and it's not good for my recovery. I promise you that I'm not having people live with me that are drinking in my house, because I'm allowed to make those rules because it's my house. So we'll talk about not being codependent and not saying that it's okay because, well, that's what they do when they get high. I don't give a shit.
Right.
Get the pot out of the house or the kid out of the house. It's pretty simple.
Right. Exactly.
Okay?
Right. And what I did was normally, forget what normally,
Yeah, you get high. Normally, I know
It
you.
would be either in me
Right.
already or
Exactly.
it would be gone in me. And my son, who a month ago was my aide to help me along, he wasn't the reason, but
Okay.
he was my aide to
Okay.
say, Mom, I can't take it. I can't have a conversation.
Okay,
with you,
let's not
whatever."
talk about your son. Let's talk about you.
Exactly. So I'm like, what is that? And when he picked it up, it wasn't him. It's either his girlfriend or
Whatever.
son, whatever.
And?
It's not- And he said, Mom, he said because of it, you could take a little. Like he gave me permission. And
Yeah.
normally,
Okay.
because I found it and I put it somewhere, and then I went home.
Right,
I
and so
went out of
again-
the house. When I came back on the phone, I told him where it was to take it. And it makes me so sad that I didn't take it. Like it
Makes you
imagine-
upset that you didn't use? Well, congratulations that you didn't use. You know what I mean? As far as you being
No,
sad
it was
because you
like
didn't.
so hard not to do it. And I
Okay,
didn't
so
do
here's
it.
the thing. So you're going to make a decision whether to get high or whether to stay clean.
Right.
And so when your want to stay clean outweighs your want to use, you'll have the willingness to stay clean. You got to make that decision. Do you want to stay high and stuck in sick and stuck in fear? That's your choice, you guys. It's a choice that we make, even though sometimes that choice feels like it's impossible. It's still a choice that we make. And when we play that tape through to the end, as opposed to what it's going to do for me right this second, because I'm a friggin' addict, and I think if I feel better right this second for this 1 second, everything in my life is going to get better. For me, you know, the end of that tape is winding up in out of work in rehab in Tennessee. That wasn't really that much fun. And so I don't know what the end of that looks like for you, but there's a reason why you're sitting in a room full of recovering addicts today. There's a
I'll just be
reason why
proud
you're
of
here.
myself that
Right.
I didn't
No,
do
so
it.
just make a decision. Okay, you want to feel sorry for yourself? We don't do that in this room. I'm glad that you brought it up because it is something that we all do. We're not going to talk about it too much, except that you'll make a choice to either have the willingness to get well or do whatever you want to do to get high.
I have
You
the
said,
willingness.
obviously, because you're here. Otherwise, you'd be home getting high, right? So kudos to you for that. Really, kudos to you for that. I'm
Right.
glad to see you here this morning.
Right.
Yes.
So this raises a whole lot of stuff in my mind. Okay, the one is, you know, everyone's bottom looks different. You know, how we get to the rooms and what makes us stay here and stay in recovery, everyone is different. Okay. For me, that absolute bottom was the worst thing and the biggest nightmare in my life, that I never ever want to go back there. It scared the crap out of me and the person I became when I was using and the craziness that went with it. I know what that looks like if I pick up. I don't need to show myself again. I've done enough research out there to know what the end result looks like. I don't need to go back and revisit that. So when everyone's, I was willing the first couple of times because my relapses happened in different ways. I'm an addict, so I relapsed on food, I relapsed on cigarettes, I relapsed on pot, I relapsed on different things because I wasn't in recovery. And I wasn't working on my recovery. I said I was in recovery and I was showing up, but I wasn't doing the work that it took for me to be healthy.
Right.
Right.
I was working for the Gold Star and just said I did it and I got it. The other thing is those first 90 days for me sucked because not only was I cleaning out my receptors and the other shit in my body, but I also had lost my best friend. And the best friend that I know, I'm not talking about the physical people that I hung out with, but my best friend, my go-to place that I would go to. And I got high at home in my refrigerator on the patio. That was my stomping ground. But it took a major shift. I was willing to do anything to get healthy and get out of that place. And I got my butt into places that kept me healthy, and I associated with people that had strong recovery that I could learn from, and I was willing to do anything, and I'm still willing to do anything. That's why I show up on 9 o'clock on a Sunday morning and do this consistently, because I want to be healthy and happy.
And you did the workshop.
Yes,
So
I
even
did.
you did the workshop after you relapsed.
I did the workshop
Right.
twice.
The second time was
Yeah.
when you really paid attention and you participated,
Right.
right? And we worked on a whole bunch of those what they call character defects that we call our imperfections, right? And it allowed us to take a look at ourselves and to understand better why we're doing the things that we're doing. Remember, it ain't what we're doing because we all do the same things. It's why are we doing that? And what needs to change inside of ourselves? Because you guys, recovery is a spiritual change, something that happens inside of ourselves that allows us to change our perspective so that we can change our actions. It allows us to look at the world differently. And you did quite well actually in the workshop.
And
So
I
I'm
was-
really glad that you were a
you know,
part of that.
I'm pleased that you mentioned this, because I've noticed that I walked into the rooms with not only a foggy brain, but with cotton wool shoved inside my ears. That as you know, recovery for me is more than just building a muscle. It's also that perspective changes over time, and what I'm open and receptive to, not just hearing but also doing, has also shifted over time. And the second time I did that workshop was a totally different experience.
You
to the
actually did
first
it,
time.
because
But
you
beyond even
did
doing
it, too.
what I got out of it and my input was so different, because in the first time I did it, I wanted to look good. I wanted to have the perfect answers and the perfect,
Ego, we're talking about ego right here.
everything. I wanted to have the wittiest, the smartest, the best, you know, all that kind of
And
stuff.
how'd that play out for you, baby?
I picked up and I used.
Oh,
okay, so,
she relapsed.
I
Okay.
relapsed. Okay, I rolled off the wagon. Okay. So
Lack of humility is what we're talking about right here, boys and girls.
yeah,
Okay.
so recovery really is a process, and it changes. And just because people have, you know, a lot of clean time makes it even more difficult for some people, because if they are struggling, it makes sometimes harder for them, because the ego does come into play, and looking good, and I've got this under my belt, and I've got 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. If something's struggling, some of us still go into that same, we never recover fully in terms of being different people, that I'm not Haiti at the end of this. I'm still Haiti, and Haiti shit still follows me wherever I go. It's just the choices that I make and my perspective shifts over time.
Yeah.
But that never ever disappears. I'm still going to be me.
Yeah, and so that's one of the great things about recovery, you guys, is that we're always a work in progress, but we're always working on ourselves. And so that's one of the greatest gifts that we have, right? If we look at people like Jess, Karen, people who started not so long ago, and both of you girls were in the workshop as well, and how much you've grown and how much you've changed since then. Even in their demeanor, like when you just look at them, right? Mm-hmm. How they even look different on the outside, you know, your affect is different and you're more relaxed and you're more open and willing to talk about what's going on with you, right? Because you're not as scared and not walking around in as much fear. So that's amazing. And so thank you so much for sharing that. It's super important. Yeah, in the beginning, you guys, we get clean. We don't have recovery time yet, and it sucks because we're not picking up. So now our brain is saying, use. You know that opiate addicts, their bodies will actually create pain to ask you for your drug of choice. Our brains are just absolutely amazing, the addict's brain. So God bless us all, and do your best to do your best. Don't pick up. Get in touch with your recovery community. You can get in touch with us anytime, and whatever you do, don't pick up, because you guys, feelings aren't facts. I have a feeling. It's a negative feeling. I'm afraid. Okay, that happened. You're afraid. Get through it and don't use. Because once we use, not only do we stay scared, but we stay scared, humiliated, and full of shame. Right? That's the end result of that using part.
And very lonely.
Yeah, super lonely.
You know, I think it's also the people who are the newcomers in the group also remind the people who've been around here what it was like when we first stepped in. So that's why these conversations are so important, because it also helps us relate to where we were and how far we've come. So really on what's eating you, if you want to share your clean time, do it. If you want to share whatever you're struggling with, do it. It's a closed community. It's a place to share. If you don't want to verbalize, at least write it down so it gets out of you. Anything that stays in us eats us. Okay,
Yeah.
and then we start eating it.
Exactly.
I
Thank
think
you.
my humility
Exactly.
comes also
Exactly.
into the same situation as far as falling off the wagon. I'm just shy of 6 months, but I just relapsed 4 days ago.
Oh, well, thank you for sharing that. And I'm proud of you for sharing that and for letting that go and saying, remember, I got today clean. Whether I had 20,000 years before doesn't mean I'm not going to relapse tomorrow, right? I had 7 years, I relapsed. You had 6 months, you relapsed. Doesn't make us better or worse, just makes us the same, makes us people that need to be diligent on working on our recovery every single day.
The one thing I can say is when you are working in recovery, when you're working in recovery, the thing I found this time was it wasn't easy for me to relapse because I had made a recovery community that supported me and came.
And so how'd you relapse?
Alcohol.
Well, you used. No, I mean, but that's not what I mean. But so you still did. So there was something
I did for
happening.
8 hours.
Doesn't matter, baby. Doesn't
Oh
matter.
no, it
So,
doesn't
yeah,
matter.
We're
but
not
and
going to
I was in the
differentiate.
hospital.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Sorry about that.
yeah, it took
but
me right there.
but good for you that that you shared that, because
Yeah.
a lot of people need to be able to share that as well. So thank you so
yeah,
much
because I
for
stepped
sharing
right
that.
back into it.
Okay, and we're really glad that you're here this morning. By the
I
way,
appreciate it. Thank
thank you.
You know, the other thing is I didn't kill you.
Yeah.
So you're here, and that's the most important thing. We had today, and we get through today. That's
Yeah.
the most important thing.
And that's
do the
all we
best
have
can.
to do, right?
Yeah.
Is really just for today. So we're gonna check in here. Jess, how you doing, baby?
I'm doing good.
Anything you want to share about?
Sure. Yesterday I lost my phone and my debit card because I have them together, and I lost them on my way out of work. And the old me would have I still panicked a bit, but I was able to stay calm. Yeah, just a little bit. And I was able to stay calm and like retrace my steps. Still didn't find it, but the way I handled it was a lot better than I would have in the past. In my head, I imagined myself like freaking out because that's what I would have done in the past. But I was able to stay calm. I drove to my friend's house, used her phone to call my phone, and I was fine. And I'm grateful. Honest person found it, and I went back to work and I got it. And I handled it a lot better than I would have.
So here's I love that you just shared that. So here's the thing. So you lost your phone and your credit card, which is sucky, right? So life happened. You stayed calm, you did what you needed to do, and you found your phone and your credit card, correct?
Yep.
If you would have lost your phone and your credit card and you would have gotten hysterical about it and you would have been running all over the place, being upset, being scared, being fearful, I'm never going to find my phone and I'm not going to get my credit card, now I'm not going to have money and somebody's going to steal my identity, and in the end, you found your phone. So the only thing that's different is the journey that it took you to get there. So it's the difference between walking in faith or in fear, right? And so you chose to let go of some of the fear and have a little bit of faith, because really, whether you were scared and horrified and crazy, or whether you said, okay, this happened, I need to take care of it, the world still turned the way that it turned. That part had nothing to do with you. The only thing that had to do with you was your perspective and how you chose not to react. Right? Very, 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 very important lesson in recovery was that your journey's your journey. What happens in the end, you have no control over, right? You did what you were supposed to do, and then you let it go, and you found your phone. If you were hysterical, you would have found your phone. The only difference was you got to spend a couple of hours not being hysterical because you chose not to be. Good job. Awesome job. That made me really, really, really amazingly happy to hear that. It's a very good story about stepping into recovery. Good for you.
Right. Yeah, I felt good.
Awesome. Awesome. I'm proud of you. Very, very good.
Thank you.
Good for you, girl. Karen?
Thanks.
Karen has a horrible sponsor, hasn't called her back in a couple of days. I know.
I have a great
Sponsor.
sponsor, and my sponsor actually, and my recovery, I'm so grateful for. I felt like I've been living that John Lennon song that says, life is what happens when you're busy making other plans.
Yeah, I love that song, actually.
But so I've had difficulty staying with humility. I found myself, kind of falling into chaos and indignation and feeling manipulated actually by myself, not anyone else. But my recovery has been able to pull me up short, and so I didn't stay there long. But it has been a struggle a little bit to not feel sorry for myself and not feel like, well, I'm here buying groceries for my brother who's ill, I'm going to buy this bag of chips. No, I'm not. I didn't. But I felt like I should do that.
Good. Yeah, and so, and you remember after you do buy and eat the bag of chips, that you get to feel like crap all over again.
Absolutely.
Right? So we get to ward ourselves with punishment. And that's a big part of our recovery and what we learn. And what you're learning in your recovery, I believe, because it's what we talk about, is that you are responsible for your own perspective and your own actions, and that other people don't manipulate you.
Right.
You manipulate
and I volunteered.
Right,
I was
exactly.
asked, can you do this? And I said yes.
Exactly.
So any resentment I have is about me.
Right.
Not standing up for what I really needed to do or wanted to do, but it doesn't matter. I did it, and I'm happy.
Right, and so we're going to talk about ego. I'm going to talk about ego with you a little bit because we talk about this a lot. So my brother called and said, can you go to the grocery store? Except I had 56,000 things to do, and he wasn't going to die without the groceries today. But because I want to look like an amazing, awesome person, I'm going to martyr myself and say, of course I'll go to the grocery store. How many thousands of things will you need? And now I go to the grocery store, and I'm picking up the thousands and millions of things that he needs, which really doesn't fit into my day, and I make believe I'm pissed off at him. You don't got no reason to be pissed off at him. He didn't do anything wrong. He just said, can you go to the grocery store? And as a woman stepping into recovery, you are allowed to say, you know what? That's really not convenient for me today. Ask somebody else, and if not, I'll see if I could fit into my schedule a little bit later on in the week. Bam, right? Now you don't have to have any resentment about yourself because he didn't do anything wrong. You did, right? Not that you did something wrong, but you fell back into an old behavior that says my ego or what he thinks of me is more important than the crap feelings I'm going to put on myself right now. Right?
Right.
Right. Choice is about perspective.
It was definitely.
Right. She always has like these great things that we all do, right? You always have like these great scenarios that we all do that we're all like, oh yeah, I did that yesterday. You know, so thanks for sharing that. Say how you feel and what you need to say. It's it.
Yeah.
You're not we have Publix here. I don't know what you have there, but you're not the grocery store delivery girl, right?
And
Unless
he
you
lives
choose
like
to.
45 minutes away, which is not a big deal.
Okay, it's not a
But-
big deal. And remember, we talked about this too. If you're giving a gift, give the gift,
Right.
right? If you're going because you're doing that act of kindness, go ahead and do it.
Yeah.
Right? Shout out to Denise. Yesterday I was in Walgreens and Denise paid for my stuff, which for me I thought was amazing. She said to me, "Oh my God, you've been smiling at me the whole time you're in here and you're singing. I want to pay for your stuff," which she did. And I do that all the time because it's so much fun. Something you guys should do once in a while, like go on the express lane and pay for the groceries for the person behind you, because it's such a great gift. But anyway, it just reminded me of that. I digress. But yeah, so about you now. Yeah, so you can make that choice to say, hey, you know, I really hope you could get some help because I can't do that today. And whatever he thinks about that is about him. The only thing
Right,
you've
right.
done is been true to yourself, right? And if I like you or don't like you for it, that's about me. Because
He would still like me, still love me,
Of
and I
cour-
know that, but my
Right.
ego said, "Oh well, you need to do this."
That's right. That's your ego. And your fear of not being liked or not being loved, or that you're
Right.
not good enough on your own to just like and love unless you're going out of your way to do something for somebody else.
And that somehow, if I'm not involved in doing what he needs me to do, then I'm doing him a disservice. But that's all about me. That's nothing about
Yeah, it is. It goes back to your ego. Yes, that's all about you. So good job that you noticed that or you recognized that, because when we talked a couple of weeks ago, kind of same scenario and you didn't recognize it.
Right,
So once you
right.
recognize it, you could act on it. So great job. Great job.
Thank you. And that's why I say my recovery and my sponsor are really, really instrumental in that. And
Thank
I
you.
appreciate that so much.
And I appreciate you
She's
back.
awesome, right?
Karen
She
signed
is
up for the
awesome.
workshop.
Of course Karen signed up for the workshop, duh. Yes, Karen, we're looking forward to seeing you in the workshop. I knew she was going to
Oh, and so is Jessica, by the way.
Yeah. Workshop girls. Robin, how are you this
Yay.
morning?
You gotta unmute yourself, love.
Robin, you're on mute. Well, we're getting there you go.
No.
Do you have your volume up? Because we can't hear you.
No.
We can see you, but we can't hear you.
No.
No.
She said, "Can you hear me now?"
No.
No. So come back.
Just chime right in when you think that you're talkable.
Okay,
Can you
so
hear me now?
Yes. Check
Okay.
in. Check in,
Yeah,
girl. How are
a
you?
microphone, so I guess my computer microphone is not very awesome yet. Anyway, talking about humility today, right?
Mhm.
So I was thinking about a couple things that happened this week. I think one of my personal issues is that I often I can't figure out, like I don't pay attention to myself very much, and I just kind of react on instinct, so I don't label my emotions and things like that. So I've been trying to do some things that I think would help that, and so I've got a little app on my phone for meditation. And so Friday I go about work, I go to school, you know, I'm teaching my kids, and I notice that I'm really grumpy, and I'm like, why am I grumpy? Why am I grumpy today? You know, and so I go to do my little meditation during lunch, and they just have a moment where in this little meditation where you just sit there and listen to your own thoughts, I guess you could say. And I just realized, oh, okay, I get it. Today I'm really sad. And so that was really good, kind of a humbling experience for me, just to take a moment and say, oh, this is what I'm feeling, and that's why I'm this way, and now I can do something about it instead of just reacting. And then I had an interesting experience later that same day. I went to the doctor's, And it's a little bit ways from my house. And so when I go down there, it's the area that I used to live in. And so I have some friends and things down in that area. And as I was driving home, I heard this, I just had a feeling I needed to go and visit my old neighbor. My old neighbor is 94 years old, this huge guy, his name is Jack. But whenever I go over there, it's like an hour because he wants to talk and chat and because he doesn't see anybody. And I was like, you know what? Just go and see him. And so I went and saw Jack, and we talked for about an hour. I felt like it was a really good thing to do because this upcoming week is the 5-year anniversary of his wife's death.
Mm-hmm. And
I was there when his wife died, and it was something we went through together. It was one of those moments where it was like, I needed to take a little bit of time for me, but then the moment that I was able to step out of myself and do something that I knew would be a gift to somebody else, it felt amazing. It really did, and it changed my whole attitude for the day.
Yeah, and Robin, I'm going to chime in. First of all, again, I'm sorry that you're sad. I really am.
Yeah.
And you're talking about you being sad, taking a moment to recognize it, and then you being of service.
Right.
Service is one of the spiritual principles, but also when you are of service, no matter how sad you are, it does allow you to get out of your own head, like you say, and actually do something
great.
kind.
It was amazing.
Do something kind for somebody else. And he's old. You don't know how many more times you have, or even when somebody's young, we don't know how much more time we have. So thank you so much for sharing that. We love you, and I'm really glad that you're here with us today. Thank you, Robin.
Thanks for sharing,
Thanks
Robin.
for sharing, Robin. And also you said something really so profound. My best thinking earned me the seat in this chair. My head and my thoughts are the place that got me to this place. And one of the things with being in recovery is needing that guidance from someone who thinks differently or a program that works differently. So not only are we cleaning up our bodies, but we're also being guided through a process that we're not relying on our own thinking, because I've got stinking thinking. So if I have to rely on that, it's going to take me to a really bad place or bad decisions or bad feelings or whatever that is. So really being within the framework that we've got, and that's one of the reasons that I love the workshops, is that there is a guide and there's a process and there's a program and there's a way of being able to pull this out in a way that it's not relying on my thoughts and my process, but it needs my input for me to be able to be healthy.
Yeah, one of my hopes for you is that you're going to retake the workshop, because it allows us to. I've done step work about 896 million times at least. You've done step work 3 times. You've done the workshop. This is the 3rd time you're going to do the workshop, correct?
Step work
4 times. Okay, I lied. Andrew's done step work 4 times. This will be your 3rd workshop, and you will have a year clean next month by the grace of the universe, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a reason for that.
So the workshop isn't just step work, because it's not taking what is just out there. It's taking years and years of knowledge. It's taking all different programs that you've been in.
Yeah.
And Felice actually put together her own workbook. It's not something that's out there that you can go buy and just get it. It's something that taken, putting together and input and all different things to make it work. And not only that, it's the community that we're in and the way that we operate that makes it so different to anything that's out there, that really recovery is possible.
Yeah, awesome, right? Really awesome experience.
It really is. So we do meet again. We've only got 2 minutes left. So as much as we'd love to sit and chat, because I could chat to everybody here all day, we meet again on Wednesday night from 9 to 10 p.m. That time may be changing. Watch our Facebook page, watch our website. Our website should be up this week, God willing. It's in progress and it's going to be awesome. And also, we may change to another night. So just keep that posted. But at this stage, Wednesday nights, we also give you guys a free gift on YouTube. You are able to get archives of all the past meetings, so you can watch them anytime, any place, anywhere. And that's our gift to you, because our hope is that you live happy and healthy lives.
And in recovery.
In recovery.
Yeah. And since I did grow up in AA, I'm going to read the promises from the big book of AA, because they're awesome and they come true. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We are going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. we will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. Like Robin said, we will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe is doing for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly and sometimes slowly, but they will always materialize if we work for them. My name is Dr. Felice Cellini. I am blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful for everyone who comes to our Why Wait for Recovery community meetings. Thank you guys for helping me stay clean.
And my name is Haiti, and as a gift, a Valentine's gift to yourself, to show the love to yourself, join us on our workshop. It is really worthwhile doing. It's the greatest gift you can ever give yourself.
Yeah.
And we look forward to seeing you on Wednesday. Have a beautiful week,
And recovery is
everybody.
awesome.
It is awesome. It's changed my whole world. It really
Yeah,
has. It's
yeah.
given me gifts and blessings beyond what I can actually describe.
And you can IM us on Why Wait for Recovery with any information you need about the workshops.
That
Yes,
too,
you can.
and
Thanks, Ange.
I am us. You guys will send you info. And peace out.
out,
Happy
everybody.
recovery, everybody.
Bye.
Thank you, Angie.